Hi everybody, welcome to Livewire Review. My name's Jeremy and today we're talking about the 2023 F150 Lightning. Well, let's get into it. So as usual, I always like to break down the range in such a way that it's easy to understand. Now, I throw a lot of numbers at you, but they are kind of important. So all these vehicles are built very differently. Some companies like to use a heat pump to improve their cold weather efficiency. Some just use a resistive heater. Some use a blend of both. And some are actually really ingenious like Hyundai where they draw the heat from the battery, the motor, and everything else. This isn't one of those vehicles. So Ford decided to go for a resistive heater. And I believe that was to bring down some of the engineering costs on this truck. But what Ford does best is they'll throw a big battery at it, and that makes up for it a lot of the time. So I found the range estimates on this truck kind of interesting. This one is the extended range model. We'll throw up some of the figures for the regular range as well, but this is the extended range today. Now, in Canada, the government website rates this at 515 kilometers, but when you look at the numbers that are posted here, they don't actually add up to that. So, to get 515 kilometers out of this, you have to be doing an efficiency of 25.43 kilowatt hours per 100. That's actually lower than what they've rated what the truck is capable of. So in the city, it says it uses 26.9 kilowatt hours per 100. That should give you a range of 487 kilometers or 302 miles. And on the highway, 33.3 kilowatt hours per 100. So that'll give you a range of 393 kilometers or 244 miles. The combined figure, this is the one that I've seen the most. When I was driving this last night, it actually said 30 kilowatt hours per 100. So I believe this is an achievable number. It's rated at 29.8 kilowatt hours per 100. And that equals a range of 439 kilometers or 272 miles. I believe this is a more realistic range figure for this truck than what is posted at 515. So if you buy this truck, please expect somewhere in the 300 kilometer to 440 kilometer range. Now, Matthew has actually driven this truck and he has towed a 7,000 pound trailer with it. They didn't go on the highway with it, so keep in mind this is probably around 80 or 90 kilometers an hour, up and down some hills, and they were getting about 54 kilowatt hours per 100. So if you're towing a trailer with this truck, it doesn't affect it as much as I thought it did, but you can expect a range of around 242 kilometers. Now, if you were to tow my parents' trailer that's behind me here, that's a 9,000 pound trailer. I would expect that range to be around 150 kilometers to 200 kilometers. So what I'd like to talk about is how useful this vehicle is. Unlike say the Mach-E and Arcona and all the other electric cars that we have, now aside from the Hyundais have something called vehicle to load, but they just pale in comparison when it comes to what Ford offers you in their electric truck. So as we've shown you in other videos before, we have Pro Power Assist. And in this truck with the extended range battery being the Lariat trim, you can actually use up to 9.6 kilowatts on the Pro Power Assist system in this vehicle. Now, that means I can run my entire house off this truck. I don't need the EcoFlow that I bought for $4,000. I can just power the house directly from this. And it doesn't have a paltry 3 kilowatt battery in it. This one's 131 kilowatts. I could run my house for like 3 days. And people who don't have geothermal heat like myself would probably be able to run their house for an entire week off this truck. So power outages are not going to be a problem for you if you get an F-150 Lightning. It's like I was saying before, the utility of this truck just blows my mind. You don't need an ATV, you don't need to run an engine all day long in order to power everything. And if you're like me out here in the back forest, back part of my property where there's no power, you can still get your work done. Look, I can go ahead, start cutting some wood to build a fence. And with 131 kilowatts of power, you could do this all day long. And at slow speeds, you can get it all around a farm, you can get around building fences, you can take this to a construction site. I'm charging my batteries from my tools up here, and you get a readout of what everything is taking up on the dashboard. You're gonna find 4 outlets out front, 4 outlets in the bed, 2 in the truck, and you're even gonna have a 240 volt outlet in the back of the truck. And this thing will run it all day. Because let's say you were using about 2,000 watts of power out of these outlets. You could do that for hours and hours and hours and still drive home. You can do deliveries with it. You can work on a farm. You can take heavy payload around town. It's incredible. Okay, I have the F-150 Lightning here, and as usual, we are gonna do a 3 car seats across test. Now, I have my fingers crossed. I'm pretty sure they're gonna fit in this one. We are gonna start with the biggest one, and I'm gonna put it on the end over here. Get the big one out of the way. Okay, that is set. I'm gonna do the medium-sized one, or, well, actually the smaller one, and I think I'm gonna put this one in the middle. There we go, in the middle. That fits really nicely in there. And we have, well, this one's actually the medium-sized one, the gray coat, and we're gonna put that on the outside edge. Now, who said a pickup truck wasn't practical? Look at that. 3 car seats fit across the back of this vehicle. And close the door just to make sure. And close the door on this side. And look at that, 3 car seats across. No problem. There's a win for the F-150 Lightning. And there you have it. Who thought a pickup truck would be a good family vehicle? You can fit all your gear in the back, and you can fit 3 car seats across the back seat of this truck. Now, if only it had 6 seats, then it would be all set. We are in the F-150 Lightning, about to go for a night drive. So this truck has a couple of tricks up its sleeve. As usual, it has automatic high beams, and from my testing, the automatic high beams in a Ford work very, very well. But as you might have seen as we pulled out of the driveway there, these headlights actually move with the steering wheel. And boy, does this system work really well. As I go around the curve, the headlights follow the curve. There, the high beams just turned on, but they don't just abruptly turn on, they actually fade on and off, so they have a much smoother transition than I'm used to. Okay, I'm just going to show you some things in here that I noticed as I was driving the vehicle. If you go to the screen and you switch the heated seats, the central dial can actually be used to change your seats. So it depends on what setting you're in, how this is going to react to your touch. And if I were to go to the heated steering wheel, no, not here, but if I was to hit the climate control button, it all of a sudden becomes the driver for the climate control. So this is a very adaptable knob. I actually really like this feature. Back to the heated and cooled seats. And that still turns on the radio when you hit the center dial. Speaking of the radio, because I have not talked about the radio yet, the Lariat trim here comes with an 8-speaker Bang & Olufsen radio. In the higher platinum trims, you will find an 18-speaker system, but in this one you get an 8-speaker system. So let's see what it sounds like. Now, I've always found satellite radio to be very tinny, so maybe I will find a radio station. So, sound system in here is excellent, and it's got a subwoofer built in. You can definitely hear the bass. It's very crisp, very clear. And you get this nice mood lighting in here, and if I'm not mistaken, you should be able to change the color of this too. And there's a nice little feature over here that I just discovered. If you go to these buttons on the side, I'm just going to focus in on this for a second. That's much better. You press this button, and it turns on a light on the side mirror. That would be very handy if you're off-road with this vehicle. And there we go. We can light up the other side using the other button. The utility on this truck just seems to be never ending. So charge times are interesting on this truck. Because the battery's so big, it won't be a 15 to 25 minute charge on this one. They're estimating 41 minutes on a 150 kilowatt charger to go from 15% to 80%. So just keep that in mind if you are planning to do this with long trips on this truck, that you're probably going to stop for about 45 minutes on your charges. And you're not going to get 300 to 440 kilometers. You're probably going to stop every 200 to 250 kilometers on a road trip. Now, if you happen to come to a 50 kilowatt station, that's where it's a little bit slower. This truck will take 122 minutes to go from 15 to 80%. That'll tie up that charger for quite a while. So try and avoid the 50 kilowatt stations if you can, if you happen to drive a Lightning. So I get this question asked a lot: how long does it take to charge at home? And rarely does that ever come into play. Now, this vehicle comes with a 32 amp charger from the factory when you buy it. It even comes with a 1450 plug, which I was showing in yesterday's video, which is excellent. But that particular charger takes 19 hours to go from 15 to 100%. That's not 0% to 100%, that's 15% to 100%. So if you had to go a long distance every single day in this truck, 19 hours isn't quite enough time in order to get this thing fully charged overnight while you're sleeping. You'd have to plug it in as soon as you get home and just hope that it's done when you go to leave. So I would recommend getting a level 2 charge station installed in your house if you buy an F150 Lightning. In fact, Ford offers a 48 amp version, and that will charge this truck in 13 hours. They even, if you have a high powered panel, they even offer up to an 80 amp station. That would be excellent for contractors and delivery companies and places, let's say like an auto parts company that has to deliver parts. That would probably be what I would recommend, is get an 80 amp station put in. Every time you come back from a delivery, just top it up a little bit. And of course, it'll be charged overnight with that station. Now, as we start this drive, I'm going to talk about the horsepower and torque for a second. This is the extended range battery. You're going to get 580 horsepower and 775 pound-feet of torque. So when you go to tow that trailer behind me that's 9,000 pounds, it's going to feel like it's not even there. It'll feel like you're driving a regular truck. But when that trailer's not attached, the 0 to 60 numbers on this vehicle are staggering. I'm going to put them down below. I know they're in the 4-second range, but I just cannot believe how fast this truck is. Most of the electric cars I get in, they just have small motors in them, and they go 0 to 60 in somewhere in the 7-second range. Our Kona, for example, is around 7 seconds. The Model 3 goes 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds with the long range. This truck almost does the same as the Model 3 long range, and it's a full-size truck. And so far, starting off this trip, I'm seeing 33 kilowatt hours per 100, so we are falling within the range figures that I was talking about earlier. And in this Lariat trim, we do come with a full-size panoramic sunroof that opens, and boy, is it nice. It's a little bright in here right now, but it also comes with a sunshade. Powered sunshade at that. So most of your features are done here in the screen, but it's a little more intuitive than some of the systems that I've used because it has that central knob in there. And as I was showing in our video last night, if you press one of the options down below, like the heated seats, it turns the knob into the function for changing the heated seats. If you press the fan function on here, it makes the knob the function for the fan. So if you have to turn off your climate control, you hit the fan button, you grab the knob, and you bring it down to off. I like this. I like having a physical knob. And in the middle, if you press the button, it turns the radio on and off. These are some of the things that we find familiar in cars. And that's what I like, familiarity. You get in an F-150 Lightning, and it's gonna feel familiar. So as I go around these corners, you can feel the weight is down low. It definitely still feels like a pickup truck, but they do use coil spring suspension front and rear, and that really does smooth out the ride. It doesn't ride like a normal pickup truck. It rides very, very smooth. It does not have sports car handling. Obviously, it weighs several thousand pounds, but it is very, very nice. I like this change-up. Good job, Ford. So as for cost of driving this vehicle, it is a very expensive truck up front because you do have to pay for the battery up front. This particular model is selling for around $110,000 Canadian. But you get a lot for that money. Like I said, you don't have to buy a backup generator for your house. You have an entire power station for the work site. It's just super useful to live with every day. And it's one of those do-it-all vehicles. You buy this vehicle and you won't need another vehicle. You won't need an ATV. You can tow trailers across your property. You can build fences with it. You can do all your farm work for the day. And because the battery's so big, it shouldn't need a charge halfway through the day. And then you can shoot out to the city and with emissions-free driving and find one of your local parking lots that has a charge station while you're out perusing the town. Features in this truck. We have 3 memory seat positions. We have 10-way power seats for the driver and the passenger, as well as ventilated and heated seats, heated steering wheel. We have a panoramic sunroof. I see a wireless charger in here. There's USB ports, there's AC ports. We have Pro Trailer Assist, Pro Power Onboard with 9.6 kilowatts, which we've been talking about, and there's even a brake controller built in. This vehicle can tow up to 7,700 pounds with the extended range battery, and it can tow up to 10,000 pounds if you have the Pro Trailer package. I'm going to throw the payload figures up on the screen. It does change when it comes to the trim. I believe, if I was correct, this one's around 1,900 pounds. That includes your passengers and your cargo. Navigate to Bourgeois Motors in Midland, Ontario.
Which item would you like?
Number 1.
Starting route to Bourgeois Motors.
I'll just mute the navigation there, but as you can see, the voice controls do work well in this vehicle. I have found that most Ford products, they work quite well, actually. Okay, I'm headed over to the Ford dealership now. We're going to return this truck, and I'm about to go pick up a Ford Mustang Mach-E to review, so stay tuned for that. Okay, here we are at Bourgeois Ford, about to get the Mach-E. Really enjoyed my time here with the F150 Lightning. Now, I didn't cover everything in this video today. Please let me know down in the comments, what would you like to know about this truck? What would you like to see next? Because I believe we might be able to get our hands on an F150 Lightning in the future. So if there's any tests that you need us to do, please let us know. And if you haven't by now, just like and subscribe if you found this video helpful. And thanks for watching.